Hey, this is your host, Bonafyde G. We're out here live with the Wisdom Teeth Knowledge Understanding on Wisdom Radio, soon to be 98.5 LPFM. I got a special guest in the building, Mr. Eric Stafford. How you doing today, Eric?
I'm doing good. How are you
I'm
today?
swell. I'm swell on this good old Sunday. I'm glad we got you in the building. We're going to talk about urban Kansas City.
Yeah,
Black history in Kansas City and whatnot.
Black history in Kansas City.
Tell us about yourself first.
Well, I was born and raised here in Kansas City, Missouri. Went to Raytown South High School, then to Penn Valley Community College, Central Missouri State, and Lincoln University. I went to all three of those schools. But I got serious about my education, more so at Penn Valley. Penn Valley, there was just a wealth of knowledge. Some awesome teachers there. Dr. Gerald Hall, Dr. Ed Beasley, Lloyd Daigle was there as well, Karen Curls. So just in that environment, I pretty much found myself. And I would go to the library and read books that were associated with my history and culture. And it just, in that environment, I just pretty much found myself, like I said.
Yeah.
That's when my love of history began. Then I went to CMSU, majored in history, came back and taught at a school. At the time it was known as Genesis School, which was a school for average youth.
Yeah, I remember Genesis.
And then part of the curriculum was showcasing the African American historic sites in the area. We called them hip hop tours.
Okay.
So we would take young people to like Leon Jordan Memorial, the Green Duck Lounge, Westport, 18th and Vine, the City Market, Quindaro 1. So
Yeah.
from that I started a business. I remember I had done a tour for a group of people from Kansas University, and the gentleman who had organized the tour, he wrote me a letter and said that I did a good job and gave me a $50 bill. So I was like, wow. So I put it in my pocket and everything. I didn't tell the school nothing about it. And I was like, well, I could probably open up and start a business doing that. And so that's how it started. That was pretty much seed money.
All right. How often are your tours and when are your tours?
Well, I do tours every day, Monday through Thursday. I do walking tours. Monday and Thursdays I do walking tours of downtown Kansas City. They're called KC Jazz Walks Through Time, and they end in live music. So we may hear Herman Meharry or somebody like that down at the Majestic Hotel. I mean, not the Majestic Hotel, the Majestic Steakhouse. That's on Mondays and Thursdays, and on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm down at the Blue Room.
Okay. All right. The historic Blue Room.
Right, and actually, I made a mistake. It's the opposite. Mondays and Thursdays, I'm down on 18th and Vine because there's live music at the Blue Room on Mondays.
Yeah.
And then Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm at the Majestic. But it's all on my website, so it's organized and everything. So
Let them know what it is.
it's www.kansascitytourcompany.com.
Okay. That's wonderful. Like, I'm not from Kansas City. I'm from Louisiana, but I love history, right?
Right.
So since I've been here, I've just been understanding the ways and the culture and dove into some books and just started figuring out what's going on.
Right.
And I've learned some interesting things. It's like going back to the Great Migration.
Right. Definitely the Great Migration started around 1877, and you had people from Louisiana, Mississippi coming up here being led by Benjamin Pap Singleton, and they got off right there in Kansas City, Kansas. Some went on and established towns like in Topeka and Nicodemus, Kansas. People have heard of those towns. But right here in Kansas City, Kansas, and then also in Kansas City, Missouri, they settled there as well in a place called Belvedere Hicks and the Belvedere Hollows and Hicks Hollows in that area around the Columbus Park area where the Italians settled.
Were, yeah.
Yeah, so blacks settled there as well. So blacks and Italians, blacks and whites lived together here in Kansas City right before, up until 1896 with Plessy versus Ferguson.
Okay.
Separate but equal. Then after that, that's when things started
Things started to change.
to segregate.
I know from 1912 to 1915 was like the highest point of the Great Migration and whatnot. Like Kansas City swelled up to like 27,000 people in 3 years.
Right.
Blacks.
And so it's not an overcrowding conditions.
Population.
So people ended up migrating around that time toward the 18th and Vine area. Then it was an area, it was known as the Bowery. And it was a lot of apartment buildings and things. And they left there. They started off, at one point in time, they were living in the West Bottoms. That was actually Kansas City's first downtown.
Okay.
In a section known as Hell's Half Acre. because they had helped to build the Hannibal Bridge, which was the first bridge to cross the Missouri River.
Oh, wow.
And once the Hannibal Bridge was built, we became the second largest livestock exchange in the nation, second only to Chicago. So when they refer to Kansas City as a cow town, we definitely are a cow town. But the packing industry was pretty much 80% of Kansas City's economy.
Yeah.
And actually, you've seen the movie The Great Debaters?
Yes.
With Melvin Tolson. Well, Denzel Washington portrays Melvin Tolson, who grew up in Independence, Missouri, in a section, the African American section, actually called the Neck. And he went to Lincoln High School, and he had a job in the packing houses. And he actually writes about his work in the packing houses and how brutal the work was. But a lot of people fed their families by working in the packing houses. Armour Meatpacking Company, actually, they advertised and they recruited blacks to work.
Blacks. We had a nice little industry, I guess, moving out, especially with the Jazz District and the 18th Line.
Yeah, it was a wide open atmosphere. Pretty much because of the permissive atmosphere that was fostered or nurtured by Boss Tom Pendergast.
Yeah, the Pendergast engine, machine.
Yeah, the machine. It very powerful force here in Kansas City, but because of the permissive atmosphere that it allowed, you had not only we had tons of nightclubs, but we also had taverns, like over 200 taverns. We had in the West Bottoms there was a block called the Wettest Block. And you may remember Carrie Nation. Yeah. She led a temperance movement. When she came to Kansas City thinking she was going to shut some bars down there, ran her right out of town.
That was that old mob influence.
Right, and the mob influence came here right around that time period too. You have the Irish Mafia, that was Pendergast. They had gambling dens all over the West Bottoms. Then you have the Italians. What's interesting about the Italians, they settled in the Columbus Park area, or the northeast section of town, but they all voted in a voting block, like Freedom Incorporated theoretically does today. Yeah. And so, with the help of the Italians, Pendergast was able to control Jackson County, and also he would hire poor people to vote 4 or 5 times on election.
On election day. Then they got Truman elected.
They got Truman elected, and the day they got Truman elected, 4 people were murdered on election day.
On election day.
Yeah, the first person murdered was a black man by the name of William Finley. He was murdered like on 24th in Michigan. Yeah, so elections used to be very bloody back then, and your vote counts.
What interested me the most about the Pendergast, the Truman, and the J.C. Nichols.
Right.
And then the migration of what the blacks and moving up and they was developing these cities. Is how the truce wall and the redlining was established.
Oh man!
And J.C. Nichols' real estate rates or real estate codes
perpetuated that.
And how I read from 1915 to 1940, only 15 houses was created for blacks.
Wow!
While Olathe and all these other neighborhoods, tens of thousands of neighborhood developments was put together.
You have overcrowding conditions, and with that you have inadequate plumbing.
Yeah, you have all that.
All that, and
your house not getting painted.
House is not
getting painted. Grass
not
getting cut.
You know how many people sharing a bathtub?
Yeah.
You know, so under those
30
conditions.
years of no new houses.
No new houses, and that's why on Paseo, like around Truman and Paseo, 12th and Paseo, that area, where they have like those islands and stuff of landscape. At one point in time, there were bathhouses up and down Paseo to deal with the plumbing issues that was caused by the overcrowded housing.
Hey, I didn't know that one. I need to learn some more about that.
They had to put that in place. Yeah, there used to be bathhouses all along Paseo.
Because of the plumbing.
Because of the plumbing. William J. Tompkins, he advocated for that. William J. Tompkins, he's one of Kansas City's first black doctors.
Okay.
Because the only hospital in the area that served African, well actually there was 2, so I shouldn't say the only ones, but the first one, it was a Perry Sanitarium, it was established by J.E. Perry. There was a major flood here in 1903, and blacks and Latinos, they were being serviced for medicinal reasons at the convention center. And so it was inadequate. It was kind of like a Katrina on a smaller scale.
Yeah, okay.
And so from that, he saw that there was no adequate medical services for African Americans, and so him, J.E. Perry, people like T.C. Unthink, they started Perry Sanitarium. And before that, they were going to Douglas Hospital over in Kansas City, Kansas on 5th Street.
Wow.
And then about 9 years later, you have Wheatley Providence Hospital on 18th and Forest. That building's still there, and they use it as a haunted house. The last time it was used, it was as a haunted house. You've seen it. It says asylum.
Yeah, I know exactly what building you're talking about.
Right. That was Wheatley Providence Hospital. So Count Basie, he was treated in that facility. Everybody, I mean, either that or General Hospital number 2. So the only hospital you could go to was Lincoln.
Wow. So you had this large black population with inadequate housing who was reduced to pretty much 27th Street and lower.
Right.
Like OG told me, I think Eddie Ray, I seen him the other day at Truce Fest. Shouts out Eddie Ray. Back in the day, he was talking about how you couldn't come past 27th Street and the cops used to be out there on horses with shotguns.
Right. And even more serious, the first blacks to buy homes like on beyond 24th Street, their homes were actually dynamited.
Yeah.
Blown up.
Man.
You ever read Race, Real Estate, and Uneven Development?
I've read excerpts of the book.
It's incredible. Like, just for that.
I think her name is
No, it's a dude.
It's a dude. Okay.
It's a dude.
It's a lady that wrote a book too. Shirley. Anyway, yeah, there's been some phenomenal work.
He went to Tulane. I guess he did his, doctorate or whatever. He wrote it at Tulane, and he has Alvin Brooks and a couple other people cited in it, and he just break down the figures, and just in the land development and how, when Truman was elected, how he pulled J.C. Nichols in and established the Housing Authority in 1933.
Yeah, we got to talk about J.C. Nichols.
Yeah.
J.C. Nichols. First of all, the Country Club District is the first master plan community in the nation.
In the nation. First outdoor mall.
Yeah, the first retail shopping district accessible by automobile in the nation. And him and William Rockhill Nelson were the first people to buy properties beyond Brush Creek. The city did not go past the creek, which is Natural Creek. So they were able to buy, since they were the first, they bought all of it at a premium price and they was able to sell it.
Yeah.
And so when he started developing the area, you had the Brookside area, Crestview, which is right off 55th Street near UMKC. You have residential houses near shopping centers. That was the first time it ever happened. But he had restrictive covenants within his deeds that stated if you purchase this property, you cannot rent or sell to a Negro or a Jew. And the thing about the Country Club Plaza is modeled after Moorish Spain. The Moors, who were of African descent, ruled Spain for over 700 years, while the rest of Spain was in the Dark Ages.
Dark Ages, yeah.
Spain was illuminated with bathhouses, colleges, universities, advanced systems.
The water fountains.
Yes, agriculture, everything, engineering, and he models the Country Club Plaza after that. And as young black. As kids, they go down there and they have no clue. You
know how many black people I met that's never been to the plaza?
Right.
I couldn't understand it. I moved here for a job and that was actually in the plaza like 12, 14 years ago, something like that. And just as recent as last month, I met like 2 people that ain't never been to the plaza.
Never been to the plaza.
It amazes me, but like...
And it's right in the urban core.
The urban core. But that Truce Wall... What they did with initiating and not letting no blacks live west of that street set a slave mentality, pretty much put a padlock on brains to allow people to feel like they can't go over there.
Right.
Like, oh no, we don't belong on that side of Truce.
Right.
And here we are 100 years later and we have 70% of the blacks in Kansas City, Missouri live east of Truce. With inadequate hospitals. There's not enough gas stations or grocery stores. None of that.
One of my favorite, I like the Brookside area. I just like it, hanging out there or whatever. But just right down the street at Metro Thriftway, I support Metro Thriftway. Don't
Shout out to Luffy's on 63rd. We were up in there. You heard me. We got a little breakfast. We're going to talk about that.
But, there's a difference. They actually pay a tax in Brookside that goes to the maintaining.
That TIF money, right?
TIF money that maintains the property and makes sure everything is picked up and everything. They need something down there on Metro Thriftway to make sure that everything's picked up. And
it's amazing that TIF money. See, like that TIF money come down, right? TIF money is supposed to make the medians right, make sure the grass is cut, and you got enough street lights and ample gas stations and firehouses and libraries per populace or whatnot. And what happens is that TIF money, we see it everywhere else, but East of Truth.
Yeah.
And it's like we know the tax money getting paid. It's coming out.
So, I don't know. Then there's the Citadel building, I mean, which is historic in itself because that building is filled with black businesses.
Yeah.
We need to get by there and support that
My
whole area.
father-in-law got a dentistry in there.
Right.
Dr. McCreary, shouts out.
Shout out to
Oh, yeah,
Rockstar
definitely.
Oh, yeah.
I know about Dr. McQuarrie. He's been there for
He's
years.
been there for years. Yeah, Rockstar up in there. Black business, Black KC, buy Black KC, y'all. We got to support these black businesses. We got some events coming up, and I've been working with Tati Richards with the Buy Black KC initiative.
Okay, how's that going?
And it's great. Like, she was just breaking down some figures and whatnot. They just make you understand the importance of if a black business get to hire 1 or 2 more employees a year, how many dollars that equals bringing back into our communities.
Yeah, how many mouths does that feed?
Yeah, that's feeding mouths. It's paying
Yeah.
bills and whatnot. But we got to keep these dollars. Our dollars don't last 2 hours.
Right. I just did some research on 18th Street, and there was this pastor of St. Stephen's Church, James Wesley Hurst. He stood up and told his congregation that if any of your family members die and you use a white undertaker, I will not perform the eulogy. I will not do your service.
Wow.
There was so many black undertakers in the area at that time. Not just T.B. Watkins, but there were Thatcher over at KCK. But that's how strongly the promotion of black business was during that time period.
What era were we talking about?
This is, this is like 1915, 1920.
Okay, yeah, so right in that.
Yeah, that area,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
era of Jim Crow. And there was a black man by the name of Theo Smith that owned 3 drugstores.
Mm-hmm.
3. Like CVS's and Walgreens.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
He owned 3. He had one on 19th and Tracy. You have the first African-American car dealership in the nation was here in Kansas City, Homer Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
That building's still there on 19th and Vine. You have movie houses.
It was a ton. It was
A ton of black business. You had to,
yeah.
because we were confined to a certain area, we had to open up businesses. There were markets, people had truck farms.
Yeah, we couldn't get around, so we right there next to each other,
Right.
doing business with each other.
You did business with
The
each other.
gentrification came in, you heard me,
In public accommodation and gentrification, eminent domain, all that.
split it and spread it out.
Right.
And because what happened to realize, they moved out. The white flight, they started, what was it called, a New Deal?
Yeah, the New Deal, and then, right up until the 1950s, they were, Central High School was white.
Mm-hmm.
But then after Brown versus Board of Education, 1953, and then there was a case in St. Louis called the Shelley case, where they could not enforce restrictive covenants anymore.
They fled to the suburbs.
They fled to the
And
suburbs.
then in the 50s, the initiative, I don't remember which president that was under, but that's when the highways came.
Yeah.
And once the highways came, the bypass, all the highways went directly over the black communities.
Yeah.
Right over and through them, so they wouldn't have to stop.
And that was in all cities throughout
In
the
all
nation.
cities.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's not a city you can go to and don't find that the highway go right over the main black area. Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Greenville district over there, the Black Wall Street, they hurry up and threw it. That's one of the first highways they threw up.
Yeah, they
over
had to cover that
They had
up.
to cover that up.
There were so many towns in Oklahoma too. I want to do a Black History tour that goes from. I like to do it across the nation, but it's just it's very rich here in this area.
We get these resources together, it can happen. Man, we got to spend our money with each other.
Yeah, we do.
Really, we spend trillions. The black hair business is $1 billion business.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying?
And then what do we have running it? I mean,
We go.
it's a whole nother issue.
Absolutely.
I mean, but Blankenship.
Yo, Blankenship, I met him.
You did?
I met him the other day at the Buy Black KC event.
Well,
His father, one of the first black hair care.
hair distributors and everything.
And he's still right there on 31st in that square where that little Chinese restaurant is off Prospect.
Oh, okay, yeah, shout out. I didn't know they were still there.
Yeah, they still there, man. So y'all can go buy black hair
Right.
products from the Blankenship business. We're gonna take us a brief break. We're gonna come back.
Okay.
I'm in live with Eric Stafford. I'm Bonafyde G. This is the Wisdom Teeth. We got Big Juice in the building. KUAW, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom Radio. Thank y'all for taking the time out to listen. This is Wisdom Teeth, KUAW. If you're just tuning in, you can hit us up on Facebook, KUAW-LPFM985. We got Bonafyde G, Mr. Eric Stafford in the building. Just to give me a little history. What's going on in this city?
Yeah, man.
It's enlightening, and sharing this light on our Black history right here in Kansas City, Missouri, man.
Oh, it don't stop.
It's a rich history in every city, and we need to find ways to dig that history up, rekindle it, resurface it, and chop that game up with each other.
And share it.
A lot of stuff started here.
Right.
A lot of
know.
stuff
I'm
started.
from Texas, so I didn't know that.
You know what I'm saying? We think about the Negro League baseball boom.
Yeah, the Negro League started right there at Purcell YMCA in 1920. J.L. Wilkinson, he was the owner, and right there at the Purcell YMCA. And the case can be made that a lot of the civil rights movement started here in this area back in the 1920s.
We was here. We was
Yeah.
here because, all right, jazz started in New Orleans. I know y'all Kansas City, y'all know, don't be mad at me, but it started in New Orleans. But it thrived and grew a big old heartbeat here because the mile let that money come here for that drinking, that prohibition.
Right, we didn't enforce it here in Kansas City.
Yeah, this was the wettest place in America. So there was all that drinking.
Probably still is.
So they brought up all the bands.
Right.
So all the jazz musicians hopped up that Mississippi River, came on up,
Right.
and got down here and got busy. It was over 1,800 bars and clubs popping in the 1920s in Kansas City.
Yeah, Count
They
Basie.
came through here then.
Yeah, so the liquor came through.
Yeah, and were tunnels that were carved
Running the money.
underground,
Yeah.
leading into speakeasies like the Majestic Steakhouse. There used to be a tunnel that led into the basement of the Majestic Steakhouse where they would distribute liquor because it was not enforced at the local level, but at the federal level.
Yeah, the federal level it was, yeah.
It was.
So like you had all these bands come up and playing, and so this was your nighttime pastime. But in the daytime, they started playing baseball.
Right.
And so the Negro League started to thrive right here.
Right here.
And then your barbecue men with your black business was feeding them. You know, we got all these cows, we had all this livestock right here. They lit the grills up.
So it makes
barbecue
sense.
boom.
Kansas, the barbecue boom.
And see, the announcers at municipal stadiums, like say the Kansas City Athletics were playing. They're now the Oakland A's, but Reggie Jackson, he used to play here. Say they would be playing on national TV, and the announcers would be like, "Wow, what is that smell?" Be like,
It's Gates,
"Thanks,
baby.
the barbecue." And Ollie Gates would hear him talking about that, so he'd hurry up and take a presidential platter up there and give him something else to talk about.
Get
You
this
know,
mixed
so
plate.
that's what popularized the Kansas City barbecue.
Barbecue.
The baseball, because those announcers they could smell it right there down on 18th and Brooklyn, and then Gates was on 19th and Vine. So, hey, then they opened up 12th Street. He had OGs,
And it started to feed each other, you know,
Right.
literally. Yeah,
but
you know.
the king of Kansas City, the father was credited as the father of Kansas City barbecue was Henry Perry,
Okay.
and Arthur Bryant actually worked for him,
Oh, okay.
and he sold beef sandwiches on 19th and Highland, and one day after year he would give out free beef sandwiches.
Big stupid beef
Yeah,
sandwiches
so-
too.
Beef sandwiches and lemonade.
Man, I went to Arthur Bryant's and got a sandwich and fed all the children.
Right.
Over one sandwich.
Back in the day, he used to have this thing called scraps and fries. You would go there and they just take a brown paper bag, and then they just dump scraps of meat, scraps of beef, and fries in there, and they wrap it up and just give it to you. And it was probably about $7, but it would feed like
Everybody.
a whole work
Yeah.
crew, maybe about 10 people.
Wow.
It would. So, yeah, Brian's Barbecue. These are the things that we need to preserve.
You need to preserve them.
And we need to also make sure that we tell our story, especially when it comes to jazz and our contribution to history, really. Especially when you look at Kansas City is in the heart of America, and the Civil War actually started here, in this area, 7 years before its official start. In 1861, it started here with the signing of the Kansas-Nebraska Act in 1854. And you all have heard of Atchison, Kansas.
Yes.
So it was named after David Rice Atchison, who was a Missouri senator. And he was able to get the Missouri Compromise repealed, which gave Kansas the opportunity to vote for itself, whether it be a free state or a slave state through popular sovereignty. So slave owners from Missouri, they rushed over into Kansas and voted illegally for Kansas to be
a slave state.
A slave state.
The Underground Railroad used to come, the
Right.
Quindara
Yeah, the Underground Railroad came right through the from Parkville. Over in Parkville, Missouri, there was a lot of white abolitionists here in this area too. One of them being George Park. Parkville University is named in his honor. But he had a newspaper called the Illuminati. Not the Illuminati. Why did I say
The Illuminati.
It's not the Illuminati.
It's something like that.
But it's something like that. It really is. But anyway, one of the first things that they did, the Confederate guerrillas, William Quantrill, Bloody Bill Anderson, the first things they did when they came into a city that was promoted freedom was they destroyed the printing presses. Because they didn't want
The media
slaves
misleading you.
being informed. That's why in 1847 the state of Missouri passed a law that said it was illegal to teach blacks, slave or free, how to read.
And this is the last place to free the slaves.
Right. And so
It held on.
it held on.
It
And
held
so,
on.
when you think about it, we've only been able to read legally 167 years.
Yeah, that's not a long time.
It's really not that long.
Baseball about older than that, man.
Right. So,
You know what I'm saying?
but these are the things that our young people need to understand when they're sitting in these classrooms because they take so much for granted. Right now, there's a connection between literacy and incarceration. People that build prisons, they understand these things and these factors. And so that's why they have all these forces coming at young people and attacking young people to they end up creating fodder for the penitentiary system. But there's a connection between your freedom and literacy, as it was then, because runaway slaves, the first thing they want to do is learn how to read.
Learn how to read.
You had to learn how to read because if you're running away, you may see a sign that
Sign,
says south this way,
You need to
north
know
that
that.
way. If you ain't used to feeling on the trees and understanding how to move,
How to move, yeah.
you need to learn how to read so you don't want to go the wrong
We
way.
used to do these tours. We used to do these tours, but I was a part of this little tour series. We took some poets and stuff and did a hayride over there in the Quindara ruins.
Oh, wow.
And went and saw the grave markings, just a bunch of burials with no names on them,
Right.
straight slave.
And rest in peace,
Brown.
Jesse Hope. Jesse Hope, well,
He died?
Yeah, he died, yeah.
Oh man, that's who I did it with.
Exactly.
We did a
Right.
fish fry and everything, man.
Right, he
Rest
died
in
maybe,
peace.
probably, it may have been about a year now.
Lord, yeah.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Jesse. He told us about the college. It was one of the first black colleges.
Right, Western
right there in
University.
Honduras.
Yeah.
And like they had it going on.
Right, Western University
And it
was
was
an
free.
all-black college over in Kansas City, Kansas.
Yeah, people talk about Quindaro and they talk about Kansas and whatnot, like, oh, they ghetto, they raggedy, them little bitty houses and whatnot, but they own that land and property.
Yeah.
It was free. So anytime you see free blacks, it ain't gonna be the most polished, prim, nicest thing.
No,
Look what happened to Haiti when it's been the most impoverished country since.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? Because they don't want to see us do us.
right,
You know, dang, rest in peace, Jesse.
right. He took me on that same ride
Yeah,
too.
that same hayride, yeah, isn't
Right.
it amazing?
It's amazing. But yeah, it was an all-black college over there, Western University, and actually Langston Hughes' grandfather was an administrator at that college, Charles Henry Langston.
Wow.
And William T. Vernon was an administrator. William T. Vernon, his name appeared on a $2 bill during the presidencies of William H. Taft and Theodore Roosevelt. You have the first African-American female to earn a master's degree in the nation. Her name was Nora Hope Douglas.
Wow.
She went there. The lady right there, Etta Moulton Barnett,
Mm-hmm.
she went to Western University. She also started Porgy and Bess. She ended up dying in Chicago, Illinois.
First Broadway plays, right?
Right, first all-black cast.
All-black cast, yeah.
But she performed in that. She was a star.
Wow.
And she went to Western University. N. Clark Smith taught at Western University, and he worked at Sumner High School and Lincoln High School. And he left here and went to Chicago and trained Nat King Cole and Lionel Hampton.
Wow. It's a rich history, man.
It's a rich history.
It's a rich history right here, like.
This is what it is. I mean, and you got the Black Power movement here in Kansas City too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of which, I'm glad we're going to that. You was talking about the books in the hood and reading and the literacy. That's the whole reason why I started urban literation. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We got to have literacy, mind elevation through spoken word, liberation through literacy. We got to get these books in the hood.
We sure do.
And urban literation right now this week, we bringing on Chairman Fred Hampton Jr.
Wow.
down to the Black Archives on Thursday the 26th.
Yeah, a lot of people may not know who Fred Hampton is, but he was assassinated in Chicago, Illinois. He was like 22 years old.
Yeah, but
Him and Mark Clark. Yeah.
And
Murdered by the police.
murdered by the police in his sleep.
Yeah.
Bobby Rush, they don't like to talk about it, but
He was
Bobby
a
Rush,
dynamic speaker.
yeah, he was. And we got Bobby Rush was one of those. You know, you had a lot of undercovers.
Right.
You ain't know who, under brothers who you ain't know who they was working for.
Right.
Bobby Rush led him right up to the door to come in there and shoot and murder that man. Right now, he a congressman right now.
Wow.
He's still a congressman right now.
That's deep.
You know, so yeah, we're bringing Chairman Fred here, and we're gonna do it's a free event at the Black Archives on Thursday, and then we're doing a free event right here at the W. Du Bois Learning Center
Right.
that Friday. We're gonna have some spoken word. And,
That's awesome. I mean, if you're hearing this, you need to make it your business to come on down to that
you know,
because
get some community
Right.
dialogue. It's the 50th anniversary of the Panthers, and there's been a lot of dialogue about reviving the Panthers.
right,
And
especially with the police brutality going
yeah,
on.
the lost legacy, and
Right.
you know, just even with pop icons such as Beyonce and the rest of them, you know, talking about bringing this light. But I like them shedding that light on it. I
Right.
want to see y'all women out there with them afros with your fist up. You know what I mean?
Right, Angela Davis style.
Love it. You know.
Yeah, the Black Panthers had a presence here in Kansas City. Pete O'Neill, he's actually in the
Yeah.
exile in Tanzania. His wife is here back and forth, you know, quite frequently. Charlotte Hill O'Neill, she's from Kansas City, Kansas. But Pete O'Neill, and actually, I used to work with his niece, Tanya Lovelace, Tanya Lovelace, with at the Full Employment Council, and I never knew that was her uncle.
Okay, yeah, I remember her.
But yeah, that's her uncle, and there's actually a book out by Steve Penn called A Case for Pardon, and they're trying to allow him to come back to the United States. He's been over there ever since.
He been over there 30.
I think more
than 30.
More than 30 years.
He
So,
left here in '69 or
Yeah,
something.
he left right when they locked Geronimo up.
Yeah.
When they locked
Right.
Geronimo Pratt up, he came. Yeah.
yeah, they had a free breakfast program here. I heard it was over there by the right off 12th Street. I may be wrong, but I heard it was over there right by St. Mark's Church in the Wayne Minor Community Center. Wayne Minor, a lot of people don't know, he was the last American to die in World War I.
Yo, yeah, Wayne Minor.
Right, he was from right here in Kansas City. All my life I just knew of Wayne Minor projects and never
Yeah.
knew the
Yeah.
significance of who that person
Those
was.
projects, yeah, it's funny how they'll throw a name on something like that. And
We were talking about Truce. That's named after Kansas City's first doctor,
okay, I was
Dr.
wondering
Benoit
that.
Truce.
My son asked me that one. I
Yeah.
couldn't. I told him I'll get back with you. So, son, I'm gonna holler at you and find out.
Then there was a plantation here too, called the Porter Plantation.
The Porter Plantation.
Uh,
We gonna break to a break. We gonna come back. I want to get enlightened about that.
okay,
You know, I'm from the plantation area in Louisiana, so
right.
it's interesting. KUAW.
Mike, sir. Thank y'all for listening. This is the Wisdom Teeth. We having a great history show today. If you just tuned in, you can hit us up on the Facebook, KUAW, LPFM 985. Give us a call, 816-599-6893. We're going to keep it going. We're going to talk a little bit about Mr. Fred Hampton Jr. and his father from Chicago.
Yeah. Well, before we do that, look, we was talking about plantations a little bit.
Right.
And Kansas City. But I was thinking about something like I was watching this little DVD, and it was talking about some things that started in Kansas City. And that term, the trap house, you know, how y'all in the trap?
Oh, yeah.
You know, all that trap,
That ain't
trap
new.
rap.
That ain't new.
That started with actually the mob house, right there off of 18th and Truce.
Right, it was like a gambling house. And Nick Savella referred to it as the trap house. He had to make a phone call to find out, you know, how the bets were going.
Yeah, in Vegas with the,
Right,
with,
with
was
the
that the
Chiefs.
first Super Bowl?
Right, and everybody from Kansas City had picked the Chiefs to win. He was like, oh my God, if that hits, we're in trouble. But he's recorded. It's on
Yeah, that's how they.
YouTube right now.
For those that don't know, the Kansas City faction of the mob, that's how they got caught up. Nobody rolled over on each other and told like a couple of the Gambinos and whatnot, these other cities in New York and whatnot. But they got caught up all because they wiretapped the trap.
Right. Very Kansas City's mob outfit was very well respected throughout the nation. Even in the movie The Godfather, Godfather Part 2, when Vito Corleone calls a meeting of all the mafia heads across the nation due to the fact that his son Santino was murdered, and so he wanted to call a peace, and so he brought all the heads of the families across the nation to him to call their peace. And they went around and each spoke of their region or where they were from, and at the very end they say California, then Kansas City is represented at that table in the movie. Hollywood knows. And even when The Godfather first came out, like the first day, what you would call the mafia or that community here in Kansas City brought all the tickets out where it couldn't be shown here like the first day.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, they bought all the tickets and they would not show that movie out here.
Right.
They didn't want to taint and show what they was doing, so they bought all the tickets and it was just an empty theater.
And one of the first codes that they had was Omerta.
Omerta, the black hand.
Yeah, they lived by that code. Like, they handled their own affairs.
In the River Key district down there in the city market area and whatnot, they handled everything. And if you woke up and you found a little white piece of paper with a black hand in front of your house, oh yeah, it's going down.
Yeah. That was you had to pay that in order to have a business.
And it's crazy, like a lot of first, okay, that term, Scarface, not Scarface, Brad Jordan, the rapper, and not Scarface, Al Pacino out the movie, but the original Scarface was right here in Kansas City, a mobster. They went to burn down this little sugar warehouse over there in the river, in the bottoms.
Joseph D. Giovanni.
Yeah, burnt his face up, and that's why he got called Scarface.
Right.
And
even Al Capone, he came here on a regular basis. Out in Excelsior Springs, they had the Al Capone suite in the Elms Hotel.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And then I was at a friend of mine, Christopher White, we were Facebook friends, and he invited me out to the house of Johnny Lazia in Blue Springs, so I actually got to go to his home. He was killed on 35th and Armour. He was assassinated right in front of the, I think it's called
they had a lot of
Park Avenue.
Right there, yeah, it was a big murder.
Yeah, he was murdered right there in front of his apartments. But he had a lake house out at Lake Lotawana, and it's still there. But Al Capone used to come out on vacation with him. But he was Pendergast's right-hand man. And he would hold court up on 12th and Baltimore. You know where the 12 Baltimore Cafe is in the Hotel Phillips?
Yeah, Hotel Phillips, yeah.
Yeah, right in the corner where that cafe is, that's where Truman's haberdashery was. Truman, he had a clothing store right when he came back from World War I. He had a clothing store, which didn't do well, and he had to. And then after that, he went into politics. He was backed by the Pendergast political
machine.
Because he was friends with Pendergast's nephew. But Pendergast owned a cement company.
Yeah, they did all the concrete for Chiefs Stadium and all the downtown city buildings and whatnot.
Yeah. Municipal Courthouse, Jackson County Courthouse,
Auditorium,
paved Brush Creek.
How many bodies under that?
City Hall.
But it's like interesting the mob legacy, right? They had kids. Their kids had kids, and Kansas City always don't die hard. And I know it's crazy. I just say their kids is still relevant and prevalent. And like with the Panther Party, they had kids.
Right.
And we know the kids, we call them Panther Cubs. The kids of the Panther Party came up with a whole different mind state. And if you ever grew up with anybody around there, you used to look at them and wonder why they was a little different. You might try to call them weird or whatnot, but no, they was on their game. They was well read and they wasn't going for it. You see how Tupac came up with a mama like a phoenix.
Right.
And here we got Chairman Fred coming up under his father's legacy, and he goes around the world speaking in behalf and talking and squashing the contradictions that's going on in our community so we can get some enlightenment.
Right.
It's necessary.
He's definitely carrying on his father's legacy.
Yeah, so we're gonna have some real big discussion this week, y'all. Thursday and Friday, the Black Archives Thursday, 7 p.m. W. Du Bois Center, 7 p.m. It's free to the public. Bring your kids, bring the family, bring the elders. We need that. We got to chop it up from the young to the old and on back.
And there was actually a Black Panther presence here in Kansas City. We had mentioned Pete O'Neill. But there was also SAC 20 here, Social Action Committee of 20, that was led by Bernard Powell. And people like Lee Bohannon, Vernon Thompson.
Met one of them brothers the other day, a couple of weeks ago. You know Pierce Valier?
Yeah.
Me and Brother Pierce was out there rapping and running it about the Beyonce thing. It was right around the Super Bowl. So we were out there downtown just cutting up, right? And he's like, oh yeah, he got one of the original Black Panthers from Kansas City here. And the brother came up, then we got to talking. Then me and him started talking about the Geronimo book.
Right.
He was like, ooh, that's a heavy book. You know what I'm saying? But it's just interesting, like, and then he just walked off and went on his way, and I went my way, and I just felt good that we had that dialogue on the block.
Right.
But
we need more of it. We need to.
Yeah.
We need to.
That's why we're doing this Thursday, man.
We need to tell our stories, man. We need to preserve our history. You know, right after Martin Luther King was assassinated here in Kansas City, riots took place over Kansas City, and actually around this, where we are, around
Right
not
here.
too far, like off Indiana, further down the street, further west. Michael McKinley, a young black youth, 13 years old, was killed in the riots. And so our young people need to understand that people like Bernard Powell, Mark Clark, Bunchy Carter, Fred Hampton was 22 years old when he was assassinated. But you hear the brother talk, he was a dynamic speaker. He was profound.
For y'all rap heads out there, there's Dr. Dre on the Chronic sampled on one of them, on Lil Ghetto Boy. He's like, if I gotta die for this little nigga right here, then I'm just a dead, you
That
know.
was Fred Hampton.
It was him.
Right. So, 22 years old. So it starts today in these schools here in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Those schools that people say are unaccredited, this, that, and the other. But it's up to you to take responsibility for your own education.
We can't shun none of our own. You know, in my era, we grew up, we were shunning the gangbangers and the dope dealers. Now, we talking about the lost, they might not have no direction. But if you look at it, if you need a stronghold in your community, the gangbangers is your muscle, and the dope dealers was the best businessmen. It's sad to say because we had to put negative traits on some trying to pull positive out of it, but wasn't nobody else maintaining, counting, and moving currency.
But a lot of the gangs, they were created to protect the community.
In Chicago.
Yeah, like if you look at the Vice Lords, Warlords, all those
The
people.
BGDs, all that started
To protect the community.
To protect the community. And then with the Daily Machine, Daily Senior, they went in, and this was like pre-COINTELPRO, but they went in and infiltrated the gangs and started paying these little young brothers money to go cause problems.
Right.
And discredit the gangs. And then that moved out west. Then you had the Crips and the Bloods. There's a documentary called Bastards of the Party.
Right.
You hip to that?
Yeah, I'm hip to that.
Yeah, and they was just talking about how the police out there in California, they was recruiting the big country Nordics from Alabama and whatnot. And they was coming out there policing these black communities with no love.
Right.
And the Crips and Bloods pretty much started to protect the communities from these dudes.
That was the purpose of it.
Yeah, but you know.
And you know what, I have to give a shout out to, there's a lot of black policemen in this community that are good police officers.
There is.
And had it not been for them, if they were,
They gotta be hard.
Gotta be hard, but if they were arrested by somebody else, a lot of black kids that are arrested by somebody else, they would be going to jail. There's a lot of black police officers that give our community breaks and that they do good work in our community. And I don't think enough is being said about them because they're in a peculiar situation. Police don't make any laws.
Yeah.
All they do is enforce
whatever they.
Right. They're like
We don't know what
their
their meetings are in the morning.
Right. They don't make any laws. All they're doing is protecting the property of the rich.
It's interesting, like, you know, I just moved back from New Orleans. Down there, I swear I ain't have a problem with the police. I see the police, they say what's happening, they keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? They see something, they might shoot us. I might be trying to holler at something too. Like, it's interesting, but, you know, up here, like, pretty much when they don't look like you in your community, the fear is there.
Automatic.
Automatic. You know what I'm saying? The poem I've been reading for the most lately is one of my pieces on the police. I read it yesterday at Truce Fest.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and I had the crowd riled up. They was like, yeah, say that. You know what I'm saying? One time I read it in New Orleans, and I went and sat down, and the lady next to me said, whew, got my nerves bad.
Wow. How was the Truth Fest yesterday?
Oh, it was nice. It was great. We had I went out there. I ran into a lot of positive people I haven't seen. You know, I've been gone, so every time I go outside, I run into people. But I ran into like Natasha and Priest.
Okay.
You know, they got the rolling grocery.
Okay.
So they got this big old truck riding around selling all the groceries you need with fresh produce and all that.
Priest the poet?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, he's been an organic farmer for 20-something years.
Oh yeah, I know. I holler at him. That's my man. I need to holler at him.
Yeah, poetry. Hey, you know what? While we talking about poetry, Eric, East Staff, you know what I'm saying? When I moved here in Kansas City in '01, I heard you was out here getting some poetry out.
Yeah, I do. I mean, that's pretty much I started. I was introduced to that by Maurice Copeland.
Okay, I ran into him yesterday at Truth Fest or something. Yeah. OG.
Right, definitely.
You know.
But yeah, so I'll go ahead and do one. Is that okay?
Yeah,
go ahead,
man. Share that work with us.
All right. This is one I haven't done in a while, but I'll go ahead and do it. At first it was cute. The death cycle continues. That child talked so cold to her parents. I cringed. At first it was cute. But now the child is out of control. And the mother has no answers. Doing whatever she wants, this adolescent knows no boundaries. Dance is so nasty. Sleeps with a perverted old man and brags, oh, my man is picking me up from school and here's the Accra. And we're going back to his crib to get high and drink Alizé. Naive to the fact that she is at high risk for AIDS. Class is so far away in the mind of the troubled youth. She feels as though she's doing the school a favor by coming. One day she told the principal her third hour teacher was looking at her butt. But no one believed her because she lies so much. At some point in her life, she was misinformed and received the impression that everybody owes her something. Hot mama. Running away from home, gone on 3 or 4 days. Not thinking of the dangers that lay ahead. Or her single mother who sits alone at home and worries. Sex pot sizzling. Overdeveloped, irresponsible kids bringing babies into the world. The death cycle continues, but at first it was cute how she liked to talk cold to grown-ups. Till she grew up one day and realized she couldn't talk cold to her boss and continue to work. She lost her job, had no man with the kid to feed. By the time she realized and learned, it was too late. Yet her daughter thought it was cute as well. She slept with 30-year-old men and skipped school too. She thought she had it going on and everybody else was tripping. The death cycle continues. Thanks.
Yeah, East Staff, you lit, urban iteration, the wisdom teeth. This is your host, Bonafyde G, KUAW, Knowledge, Wisdom, Understanding Radio. Thursday at the Black Archives, 7 p.m. RSVP online at blackarchives.org. And it's free. Then W.E.B. Du Bois Center, right here, 7 p.m. Free event. Ridiculously good. Chef Bonafyde G will cater it. We in here.
Man, check us out. Juice TV Radio at 7 o'clock on Friday. Brother Hampton Jr. will be in the building. So make sure you tune in.
Yeah, we're going to go on and do a little, come up and do a little broadcast.
Just a little bit. That's what's up.
And then check me out, www.kansascitytourcompany.com. You can go there and sign up for it.
Thank you so much for being up at East Staff. I'm
appreciate you.
See if I can get a group together, we come do it and get some of that knowledge, brother.
Let's make it happen.
We need that. Shout out to all the black businesses in Kansas City.
Man, support.
Big shout out to Luffy's on 63rd. We got a breakfast program in there from 8 to 11. Come in there and get some of that good breakfast. These shrimp and grits and steak omelets and chicken sausage.
Oh man, chicken sausage, wow.
Chef Bonafyde G, we in there whipping it up, and we're trying to get it going for y'all. Feed the people.
I know that's right. Free breakfast program. Well, that ain't free there, but.
Yeah. But Luffy's
in the spirit.
Hey, he's helped sponsoring this Chairman Fred event. And,
is he?
Yeah, the Music and More Foundation and Bob Black KC. And, we're just out here trying to, urban iteration, we're just trying to put together, get the grassroots, W.E. Du Bois Center. We're putting it together. 50 hit there go a long way. You know what I'm saying? Our voices go a long way.
Yeah, we just got to keep doing what we're doing.
10 minutes of your time go a long way. So whatever we can put in the pot and stir, that's what we got to do. Because it's easy to cook for 2 as it is 10. Just get a bigger pot to cook in.
Right.
Yep. Wisdom teeth. Thank y'all for listening.
Peace out.